What is up, everybody? It has been a hot minute since I've done any sort of new uploads or updates on what's been going on with all of these awesome things around here. If you can't tell already, I kind of commandeered a corner of my shop just for my cars so I can work on my own stuff for once. It's been quite a while since I've had that opportunity, but I want to do that again. I want to do some updates on this car, which we really haven't talked about that much on the channel, and it's been a while since we've done an update on this car. But yeah, I'm glad you stopped by. Get you a nice ice cold beverage, preferably a Miller Genuine Draft, who I am not sponsored by, but it would be nice. Molson Coors, I'm looking at you. Miller Genuine Draft Pontiac, all over social media, in front of a lot of people on major super speedways and road courses across the Southeast. Molson Coors, I'm looking at you. So sit back, get you a nice drink, and let's do a little bit of talking, shall we? So this old girl here has gone through quite a transformation since I first acquired it, which if you've been following me for a while, there was a video way back when we went and picked this thing up in Illinois. But since then, the old engine that was in it when they filmed Days of Thunder, which we have confirmed this is a screen-used Days of Thunder car, that engine is long gone. We pulled it out. It was replaced with a aluminum-headed 358, basically it's kind of close to about a 604 spec. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but it sounds decent and it's fun and it gets the job done. And it really, over time, let me get myself used to driving these things, and which is why we're stepping up to this one, which we'll go over that in a minute. But yeah, man, this car has come a long way since I got it. I've spent a lot of time talking directly to former Blue Max crew members, trying to make this thing as accurate as possible to how Rusty's cars ran in 1990. I was contacted by a gentleman through Facebook a while back, and he told me that he's friends with Pete Peterson. And this is all speculation at this point, so I'm not saying this is what this car is, but the general consensus is this car started life as one of the original Old Milwaukee Pontiac Grand Prix for Blue Max. What I was told was when they first started, they built a couple new Le Manses and a couple new Pontiac Grand Prix. They said that one of the Grand Prix originally had a black chassis. Now, this car underneath the Dove Gray is black all over. And they ran the car 6 races. I believe the last time, if it is the same car that Tim would have drove, it would have been the Nashville race. I think they did a night race at Nashville in 1983, and that would have been the last time the car was ran as an Old Milwaukee car. And the story I was told was whether it was a team thing or Tim or a combination of both, for whatever reason, they did not like the car very much, so it got designated in the fleet to a show car. And it was several different cars before it ended up ultimately being what you see right here. And then it was purchased by Paramount to be in Days of Thunder. And like I said, I know for a fact this was a screen-used Days of Thunder car. Now, the Old Milwaukee thing leading up to that is still up in the air. I'm still trying to get confirmation on that. So if anybody out there that might be able to confirm or deny this, I've spoken to multiple people that worked for the team over the years. Nobody has been able to corroborate any of that. So anybody that was there in 1983 that would remember anything, what the car, like the chassis name, Blue Max named all their cars. You had Samson, you had Brutus, you had Whitney, you had Holly, Madonna, Glenda, and a myriad of other named cars. If this is that car, I would like to know what this car was originally named so I can figure that out. So if you know, please let me know. Something recently that happened that I got super lucky with was my buddy James was up in Mooresville and came across a set of original unused 88 to 1990 Pontiac headlight decals. They were still on the original sheets. They had not been messed with. So I got my hands on those, and I took them to a friend of mine down in Greenwood that does computer graphics and stuff for me. So they scanned them, sized them correctly, and we got the headlight decals finally accurate to what car they took to Daytona in 1990. So there's photos of Rusty sitting on pit road with, I'm not sure if it was the 500 car or the Clash car, or if that car was the same car. They ran both races. But anyways, at that point in time, the headlights were just a solid gold with just a white border. And as the year progressed on, they changed them to where there was gold, and then there was like a negative black with a black line here, and then a gold border. So maybe down the road, now that I've got the pattern and we've got the pattern saved in the computer down there at my buddy's shop, we can, if I get bored with these, I can change these out. But they were never quite right, and I've called several guys that's all they do is recreate decals for these cars, and nobody had this. Nobody had this anywhere. So the fact that I got my hands on that and got this correct, that is a big deal to me, because every single photo I have of this car up to this point, it looks fantastic, except for the decals were always just a hair off. So we got that right. At some point, I'm going to change the whole nose on this car. I've acquired several original unused 88 to 90 Pontiac noses. So at some point, we're going to cut this whole nose off this car and put a new one on it, because I had to add some of the plastic fairing down here just to kind of get the arrow down to where it needs to be for now, just kind of as a stopgap until we get this fixed. But with the side skirts just like 1990 on it. We added the roof rail strips to it, so this car as a show car never had roof strips, and by 1990 they all had strips, so that bugged me. And even though this particular skin did not have roof strips on it, I just felt like I had to do it. So my buddy Ronnie got that straightened out, and they kind of had this really weird kind of homemade spoiler from the filming. If you ever see it up close, like in old photos of the car, or if you watch the movie close enough to, which I still have the spoiler that came off of it, but Ronnie that made made my roof strips, made my spoiler. And we're getting there. Probably now that I've got that car there almost finished, at some point, I want to take this car all the way apart. It's mechanically all the way apart, new transmission. I've got a new short block back there ready to go. And I think I finally acquired a set of the Brodix Pontiac heads and a correct intake manifold. So this engine, which has served me quite well, will come out, probably get refreshed for something else down the road. And that new short block with the correct heads will go in this thing and hopefully wake this car up immensely. But yeah, we're getting there, man. She's fun. Let's talk about this car. And I honestly do not remember at the point of filming this right now if I've ever covered this car on the channel or not. So if I have not, and I'm being redundant and repeating myself, I apologize, but we're going to go over this one real quick and kind of let y'all know what it was and what it is now and what my plans are with this thing. So I purchased this car 2 years ago, I think now. Jesus, time flies by. But car was for sale on Facebook Marketplace. And I spoke to the gentleman that was selling the car for the the previous owner at the time, the current owner of the car. And at that point in time, the car was owned by Brad Smith, that's been driving in the ARCA series since, probably the late 80s. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Brad, if you're watching this, comment, let me know. Brad bought this car from Buddy Arrington I guess would have been in the late 80s or so, somewhere around there. And I did not know any of this until I went all the way to Michigan to load the car up. But when I got there, Brad said, well, this car was in a movie. And I was like, nope, no clue. That chassis under this Pontiac, 88 to 90 Pontiac, was originally a Dodge Murata. And Ed Negri in Norman built this chassis in-house in their building, and it's loosely based off of a banjo car. So it's got the torsion rod front end on it. It's got the Ford lowers. The lower part of this car is almost identical to that banjo car. The top of it's a little bit different, but everything else almost identical to a banjo car. But Ed built this chassis in-house, and Norman told me that he's pretty sure that this car was the first 110-inch car built brand new with a Dodge Murata body on it. And I know the Pettys had one that they took to Daytona that drove like a brick down there, and they took it back to their shop and cut the body off of it. But so the car was originally a Dodge Murata. It has Dodge floor pans. The floor pans in this car are like a late 60s Dodge Charger pan. It's not the typical Ford Galaxy pan like the other cars have got. So the car was a Dodge. It was campaigned. Dave Marcus drove it. Dick May drove it. And I think Neil Castles drove it at least once. I've got photos of this car at Charlotte. I've got photos of it at Riverside. So I think the last time it ran as a Cup car was a Dodge at Riverside. But it was purchased and it was used in six-pack. So there are two Turk Logan villain cars that was used. It was a red and black Dodge in the final scenes at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And if you watch the end of the movie, there is a scene where Brewster Baker, the awesome Kenny Rogers, and Turk have a skirmish in the pits, and one of the Dodges crashes into pit road. That is that car. That was that car. And when Brad purchased the car from Buddy, it still had the wrecked Dodge body from filming Six Pack. And he took the car back to Norman. Norman, and I've spoken to him and confirmed all of this, Norman cut the crashed Dodge body off of it, and they hung this Pontiac on it. And it's been like that ever since. And the last documented race I can find of this car driving in a professional level was at Five Flags Speedway in Pensacola, Florida in 1995 with Brad driving the car. As you see it now, I changed the number. I put my shop logo on it. But the car, that's the paint from 1995. So I basically have tried to preserve this car cosmetically as far as I possibly can. Maybe at some point down the road, it'll get a repaint. But, you know, it's got those Dale vibes. So being a Rusty fan and being a Dale fan and trying to mix the two of them together, I use the Kodiak font. There it is, the Kodiak font on the 27. But I kept everything else like it was. And I'm going to spin this thing around real quick. That's the car right there. Like I said, we polished it up and gave it a good bath and have gone through this whole entire car mechanically. Right now it's got a 434 Dart with aluminum Dart heads, roller cam. I've spoken directly to the engine builder a few times, and he said this thing is making roughly 780 horsepower at this point. I've started it up a few times. Let me tell you something. This car has sat dormant, untouched, almost this whole entire year because I've purchased at this point probably, no lie, a dozen set of headers for this car. And my buddy Bob found a set of stall headers in his storage building and sent them to me. And I got them the day, as of today, it's the Sunday before New Year's. I got these headers Friday and we put them on, Thursday. And we put the headers on the car Friday and they fit. So I have headers on this car now. So at this point, it needs the center, the drive shaft, the exhaust. I've got to finish plumbing the nozzles for the fire suppression system in it and basically shake the car down, bleed the clutch again and bleed the brakes again. And this thing should be on the track at some point. And my goal, the whole reason I bought this car was for that. So we're going to run with HS CRA and hopefully HSR this summer. I used this car several months ago, and I went through the driving school with HSR to get my license. So I basically have a comp license now to run with NASCAR. There's still a couple more steps I have to take to get the hard card, but that thing got me to be almost a professional race car driver. And we're going to do it with this one. I love this car to death. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's about 10 times the car I expected it to be when I first got it. And Norman, if you watch this, I got to say, buddy, you did a absolutely masterful job hanging the body on this car because it is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it looks like it's going 200 miles an hour, sitting right there, still, quiet. So, man, thumbs up, buddy. You did a killer job. And I'm going to beg you one more time to hang the body on this car for me. If you can make that car look like this car, please. And I want to save this one for another video because that whole thing right there is probably my prized possession at this point. And we'll get into that later. Now I actually have another car sitting in the other building that we got to do a video on too. So we'll cover all that at some point. I just wanted to get you guys up to date on what was going on, what I've been up to. I got my corner in my building with all my banners I've been collecting and these two old things sitting here. So that's where we are. So as things progress with both cars, I will do more updates and kind of get a little deeper into each car, pop the hood, show what's really going on inside these things. I just kind of wanted to get everybody up to date, get a video uploaded so YouTube doesn't shut me down or something dumb like that. But yeah, I'm glad y'all tuned in. I appreciate you watching. Let me say a personal thanks to Todd Parrott, John Dodson, Bob Rahili, Clay Robinette. Y'all have been awesome. You don't understand how much you have helped me out with authenticating that car to what we think it is. Historical data to get this thing as correct as I can make it the way it is right now. And then also with the car I just showed that is just a bare chassis right now. Todd and John, man, you guys, much appreciation. Thank you very much. And thank everybody else for watching. And once again, Molson Coors, Miller Genuine Draft. Help a brother out. These things aren't cheap. Thank y'all for watching. Y'all have a great New Year's.